For the old school fan, this was it. From just the matchup of the two names, Notre Dame, Michigan State, the uniforms, the tradition of the rivalry, the series between these two teams, the recent battles, and certainly the setting at Notre Dame Stadium. MarkRogersTV and ProFootballCentral.com just a few minutes after Notre Dame held off Michigan State 17-13, and the matchup on the field did not disappoint the purist, the old school guy. It was a slug it out, battle in the trenches, not pretty passing the football. Either team, even though the ball was in the air 66 times between the two teams, it was not pretty, hardly at all. A few times for Notre Dame, but certainly not for Michigan State. But again, it was defense dominated, good tackling, good blocking game, great game to watch. I get sick of watching the ball in the air constantly and point totals in the 60s and 70s. It's fun when it happens, but not every game. Enjoyed this one. Probably few did out there, but I did in Michigan State, falling to Notre Dame 17-13. The only painful thing was watching Michigan State tried to drive the football the last two possessions against Notre Dame, and it was good Notre Dame defense, but certainly Michigan State's inability to throw the football, the lack of dynamic playmakers, the lack of quarterbacking skill and talent certainly is going to catch up with Michigan State, and already did in this game. Certainly that was the detriment of this football program last season in falling to 7-6. But let's touch upon one major factor in this football game first, and it was the officials calling, I believe, 6 pass interference calls against Michigan State. Certainly some of them were warranted, no question. A few of them were complete phantom calls. A couple were questionable, were certainly up to debate. But I believe 6 pass interference calls against Michigan State, and each one of them contributed to extending a drive, extending a scoring drive. A huge one against Trey Wayans. There were 3 against Wayans on the game, number 15 for Michigan State. That ultimately set up the T.J. Jones touchdown reception against Darqueze Dennard in the back of the end zone. Jones made an exceptional play. Michigan State did a nice job of keeping the ball out of Jones' hands on the day, although he was mainly drawing the pass interference calls off Michigan State. Jones made a great catch in the back of the end zone to give Notre Dame the lead. At that point, 10-7. Other pass interference calls, there was one on Darqueze Dennard when he got an interception near the end zone, although he gained an advantage. I've got no issue with that call. Gained the advantage before getting the interception, so certainly you could blame Michigan State defenders for many of these pass interference calls. But again, Wayans, the sophomore, had 2 other ones that were crucial in this one. And so you hate to see a game decided by officiating, but the refs needed to make the call most of the time. Again, a couple phantom, we believe about 3 out of the 6 were warranted. So let's look at the two teams on the field. These are not great football teams, but these are 2 of the top 20 to 25 football teams in the country. And this is about what we expected in this one. We picked Notre Dame to win outright, but Michigan State to cover the 5 points. And there you go, 17-13, Irish win it. Only 474 yards between the two teams. 474 in this game, 254 to 220 for Michigan State in winning this game. There was a key play early on where Tommy Rees fumbled. He was rushed, arm grabbed, fumbled. That was reviewed and brought back. Michigan State would have had the ball inside the 45 of Notre Dame. Who knows what would have happened there. Rees had a pretty marginal day, 14 of 34, 142 yards, 1 touchdown. Most importantly, did not throw an interception. 14 of 34 for Rees, 142, 1 touchdown to Jones. No picks for either quarterback. So not exceptional quarterback play, but they did not turn the ball over. Notre Dame's wide receivers played really well. Some of the young guys here. Will Fuller, who was the 28th ranked wide receiver coming out of high school, according to Rivals.com, with his first career reception, and it was a great reception down the right sideline. Ball over his head, He pulled it down for a 37-yard reception, so look out for him. He may get some time in the offense. Also, Corey Robinson, certainly a freshman wide receiver with 3 receptions for 54 yards. He looked really good. His 3 receptions extended Notre Dame drives on third down, so those were huge for him. And again, TJ Jones continues to do his thing, although only 2 receptions on this game, but had the big one in converting the touchdown. 10-7 Notre Dame at that point. Also for Notre Dame, you'd like to note that it's difficult to get a read on the defense in this game. They were torn to shreds to a certain extent by Michigan a couple of weeks ago with the big house, but against Michigan State and their lack of playmakers, Notre Dame did a reasonably good job. Obviously only gave up 13 points and less than 250 yards of total offense. But defensive coordinator for Notre Dame, Bob Diaco, had commented before the game to NBC Sports that, hey, this is not the defense that we had last year. Too many issues at safety and at outside linebacker. That's where they faltered. Certainly at safety in that Michigan game, giving up big plays down the field. And they don't have the leadership that they had with Manti Te'o and Zeke Mata on defense from 2012. So they lack the leadership, and they've had poor performance at safety and outside linebacker. Now, also in this game for Notre Dame, you've got to take into consideration no Sheldon Day. And this guy is a tremendous player up front for Notre Dame who is in a walking boot right now, and he should be back in the next couple weeks for the Irish. For Michigan State, it goes back again to offense. The defense is one of the 10 best defenses in the country. Really, the only huge issues they had in this game was losing the ball in the air and the defensive backs not playing the ball, playing the receiver, and the pass interference calls again. Some of them phantom, but 3 or 4 very legit pass interference calls on Michigan State, which really cost them in this game. Mark D'Antonio was furious about it. It's reported by NBC Sports on the sideline that he used the terms, will negate the possible expletives here. Joke, unbelievable, ridiculous, and I would have to agree on 3 or 4 of those calls. But those same terms could be used for the Michigan State passing offense. This was an offense with Andrew Maxwell at quarterback in 2012 and Connor Cook playing very limited time, mostly in the bowl game against TCU, that was horrendous throwing the football, mostly checked down to the tight end Deion Sims, and tons of dropped passes for Michigan State, of course, last year. We talked about it a ton during the offseason. Mike Mayock of NBC Sports during the game said that on tape, in reviewing and scouting Michigan State, could not believe the dropped passes. He should have seen Michigan State play most of its big ball games last year because Michigan State's wide receivers are actually improving. Burbridge is better than he's shown. Aaron Burbridge, he made some big plays in this game. Bennie Fowler had the best catch of the day, a 19-yard reception, which, listen to this, that was Michigan State's biggest gain of the day, 19 yards. Bennie Fowler laid out for it, made a great hands catch on one of the last drives. It was actually the Michigan State field goal that made it 17-13 in the fourth quarter, but that was the biggest gain of the day, Michigan State. And that's something D'Antonio complained about and said had to be fixed, and they had to find a dynamic element to the offense and playmakers on offense, that they needed to not rely on 5 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards, 2 yards. They had to get big plays out of the passing game in particular, and they just don't have it right now. Again, 19 yards, the biggest play for Michigan State, 11 yards out of the running game. Nick Hill's a bulldozer, power, squats 600-plus pounds. Langford's a decent back, but no explosion there in the running game and nothing in the passing game. Connor Cook was okay, 16 of 32, but again, everything's checked down, limited big plays. When you complete 16 for $135, there's not much there downfield in the passing game. No chunk yardage. 1 touchdown, no pick. So Connor Cook did not turn it over, but Michigan State needs to find something in the offense. Dynamic playmakers. Their one chance for that would be McGarrett Kings Jr., who caught, 5 for 37. So no, he wasn't explosive in this game, but he gets downfield. He creates mismatches. He does have some talent, and he made a great touchdown catch in which he adjusted to the football, caught it over his shoulder. Michigan State, again, even their 2 touchdown drives or 2 long drives of the game, 14 plays, 79 yards, and 15 plays for 75 yards. So they have to maintain the football and eat up yardage in time. Otherwise, they just do not get any easy yardage and easy points out of the passing game. Looking over our notes, don't see anything else that really jumps out at us. Michigan State down by 4, got the football twice, once at their own 32 and then at their own 33 with 4 and 2 minutes left after the defense made 3-and-out stops, and Michigan State could do nothing with the football. Okay, for the Spartans, mostly because of the defense, number one, but also because of the schedule. We believe at 3-1, and obviously they haven't played any Big Ten games, that they've got a chance to make it to the Big Ten championship game. Sure, they would love to have that added dimension to the offense, but with that defense and missing Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Penn State out of the schedule, that's not a luxury Michigan has. They've got to play all 3 of them. Michigan State starting with Iowa next week, a trip to Iowa at 3-1. Of course, first game in the Big Ten. Michigan State still has a chance to do damage in the Big Ten. They don't turn over the football on offense. That's the one positive. The field goal kicking is a bit shaky. They missed one with Muma, missing one on Saturday against Notre Dame. The Irish at 3-1, they run the gauntlet now. We know that they've already played Michigan and Michigan State. Oklahoma next week at home, Arizona State and USC. Then they lighten up a bit in the schedule ranks before they take on Stanford to close out the season. Notre Dame, a strong defense. Don't know if we mentioned defensive coordinator Bob Diaco had commented that they were missing outside linebacker play, safety play. Those were the 2 big tangible issues, and also missing leadership on defense that they had last year with Zeke Mata and, of course, Manti Te'o. They need leadership to step up on this team. They were missing Sheldon Day, who is a tremendous player up front for them. Notre Dame in the red zone, much better last year. It only given up 13 touchdowns and 38 trips, 9 out of 15 this season, although they did hold Michigan State to just 1 touchdown on this game with 4 trips into the red zone. Would love to hear what you have to say about Notre Dame, Michigan State, and the possibility of a big season for either one, especially with Michigan State playing now in a conference situation where they will try to win the Big Ten with little playmaker ability on offense. Again, chime in on Michigan State, Notre Dame, or anything in college football. And follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter if you love to talk college football. We will discuss it, debate it, love to do it right here on Mark Rogers TV and ProFootballCentral.com.